something happened to me, and to this day, I can't understand it. My name is Marcelo, and I've been driving trucks for 15 years. I know every damn road in the American Midwest like the back of my hand. I've driven from Illinois to Montana, day and night, in snow and rain. I've never been afraid. I've never gotten lost. Until that night. It was October 23rd, a cold Tuesday. One of those where the wind cuts your skin even inside the cab. I was in a seedy motel near Springfield, Missouri, trying to sleep after 2 straight days on the road. My marriage had ended 6 months ago. My son wasn't answering my calls. I basically lived inside that old Scania truck, smelling of diesel and reheated coffee. The cell phone vibrated at 11:47 p.m. Unknown number. Message on WhatsApp. Urgent shipping, $3,500. Delivery to Ashford, Nebraska. Light load. Do you accept? $3,500. For a light load, at this hour, anyone with half a brain cell would have ignored it. But I needed the money. And honestly, I needed anything that would make me feel less empty. I replied, collection address. The answer came in seconds. A warehouse on the outskirts of town. Nothing registered on the GPS, but the location on the map seemed legitimate. I grabbed the keys, put on my worn-out sweatshirt, and left. The warehouse was exactly the kind of place you'd expect to find in an illegal freight operation. Rusty gate, flickering lights, not a soul in sight. The cargo was already there, wrapped in black tarps and tied with ropes. I didn't even try to look. The less you know, the better. I carried everything myself. Nobody showed up. No signature, just another message. Follow Old Mill Road. Don't use GPS. Trust the road. Old Mill Road. I knew the name, but I'd never been there. It was one of those back roads that truckers avoid, narrow, poorly lit, with no gas stations or houses. But if the guy was paying all that money, he had a reason. I started the engine. The familiar rumble of the Scania calmed me down a little. I grabbed my thermos of cold coffee, lit a cigarette, and left. The road started out normal, cracked asphalt, but passable. Some rusty signs indicating directions I didn't recognize. I turned on the radio to break the silence. Just static. After about 20 minutes, I noticed something strange. I hadn't passed a single car, no gas station, no house with its light on, nothing. Just that gray strip of asphalt stretching endlessly under the light of my headlights. I checked the GPS. The screen was frozen, just a straight line, no street name, no mileage indication. I restarted the device. Same thing. Shit, I muttered, throwing my cigarette out the window. That's when I saw the first sign. It was bent, almost fallen over, covered in rust. There was nothing written on it, just scratches, as if someone had scratched the metal with their fingernails. I felt a tightness in my stomach, but I carried on. Truck drivers don't have the luxury of being afraid, but as I drove on, the feeling of being watched grew. There was nothing but the road, the dark trees on either side, and the absolute darkness. But I felt it. Something on the back of my neck. Something wrong. The radio crackled again. And then, for the first time, I heard the voice. Turn left in 300 meters. I froze. The voice was calm, masculine, like that of an old radio announcer. I looked at the dashboard. The radio was still only showing static, but the voice had been clear. 3 minutes later, the road made a sharp left turn, exactly as the voice had said. My hand gripped the steering wheel so tightly that I felt my joints crack. Coincidence. It had to be a coincidence, but my stomach was telling me otherwise. That feeling when you know something is wrong, but your head is still trying to convince you otherwise. I slowed down. The speedometer needle dropped from 65 to 45 miles per hour. I looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing. Just darkness swallowing the road behind me, as if it ceased to exist as soon as I passed. I picked up my cell phone. No signal. Not even a single bar. Okay, Marcelo, breathe. You've driven around all night without a signal before. This is normal." But it didn't seem normal. I looked at the odometer. I had already driven 47 miles from the warehouse, 47 miles without seeing absolutely anything. Not an abandoned trailer, not a fence, not a damn animal crossing the road. The radio crackled again. "Sign down, kilometer 43. My heart raced. No, wait a minute. The voice repeated, clearer this time. "Sign down, kilometer 43. You'll see it in 40 seconds. I felt the sweat trickle down my forehead, despite the cold. I counted mentally. 30 seconds, 20, 10. And then, illuminated by the truck's headlights, I saw a road sign lying on the side of the road. Faded blue, crooked. Exactly where the voice said it would be. I stepped on the brake. The Scania groaned and stopped with a jolt. I stood there, stopped in the middle of the empty road, the engine humming softly, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear it in my ears. What the hell is that? I grabbed the flashlight from under the seat and climbed down from the cabin. The air was freezing, so freezing that my breath came out in thick clouds. I walked to the sign. It was covered in mud and rust. I tried to read what was written, but the letters were faded. Only the shadow of words that no longer existed remained. I turned the flashlight around. Nothing. Just the road, the dead trees on either side, and that heavy silence that seemed to press against my eardrums. I went back to the truck. I locked the doors. I started the engine and drove off. Now faster. The radio was quiet for a few minutes. Long enough for me to start breathing again, to try and convince myself that it was, I don't know, some kind of automatic transmission for the highway, some technology I didn't recognize. But I knew I was lying to myself. Disused gas station on the right. 2 kilometers. The voice returned, closer now, as if it were inside the cabin with me. No. Shut up. Shut up. I hit the radio with my hand. The static increased, but the voice continued. Well, you're scared, Marcelo. Guided. How do you know my name? Silence. And then, 2 kilometers ahead, exactly as promised, I saw the gas station, abandoned, rusty pumps, broken windows, the entire structure leaning to one side, as if it were sinking into the ground. I drove straight past. I wasn't going to stop. I wasn't going to get out. I wasn't going to check anything. I accelerated. 70, 80, 85 miles per hour. The road continued straight, infinitely straight. I looked at the GPS again, still frozen. No mileage indicated. No estimated time of arrival. You can't leave, Marcelo. My blood froze. The road chose you. I don't want this. I just want to get out of here. I turned the steering wheel sharply to the right, leaving the road. The rear wheels skidded on the dirt. Branches hit the sides of the truck. I continued straight ahead, crossing what seemed to be an empty field. I drove for 5 minutes, 10, 15, and then, impossible, absurd, terrifying. My headlights illuminated the asphalt again, the same road, the same sign that fell at kilometer 43, the same deactivated post ahead. No. I stopped the truck in the middle of the road. I turned off the engine. Absolute silence. And then, coming from somewhere in the darkness, I heard steps, boards, getting closer. I locked the doors, all of them. The footsteps continued, slow, deliberate, like heavy boots hitting the asphalt. But when I looked in the rearview mirrors, I didn't see anything, just the empty road, dark, dead. The footsteps stopped right next to the driver's door. I held my breath. My hand trembled as I grabbed the key, ready to start the engine and get out of there at any cost. But something stopped me, a primal, irrational fear that if I made a sound, whatever was there would know exactly where I was, as if I didn't already know. The radio started crackling again. The static was different now. denser, almost alive. And then the voice returned, but it was no longer that of an announcer. She was hoarse, tired, like someone who had talked too much for too long. "Do you think you're lost on the road, Marcelo?" I felt my throat close up. "You were already lost long before that." Who are you? What do you want from me?" Silence. Then, slowly, the voice continued. "Your ex-wife, Jennifer, she still dreams about you sometimes, but she wakes up relieved that you're no longer there." My heart raced. "Your son, Ethan, 8 years old, you missed his last birthday, and the one before that. He stopped asking when you're going to visit him." "Shut up!" I punched the dashboard. The radio shook, but stayed on. "You drive because it's easier than facing what you left behind." Hot tears streamed down my face. Anger, fear, guilt, all mixed together. "But there's something you've never told anyone, is there, Marcelo?" "Guided." "No, not that." 3 years ago, Interstate 70, 2 in the morning. "No. You were tired. Very tired. You had been driving for 16 hours without stopping. Please, stop." And then you saw. Too late. I closed my eyes tightly. The memory came rushing back like a punch to the gut. The impact, the horrible sound, the body falling to the side of the road. "You didn't stop, Marcelo. You accelerated." "I had no choice. I was going to lose everything." "And he lost his life." Silence. My breath came out in sobs. I had buried it so deep that sometimes I could convince myself it had never happened. But it was there. It always had been. Is this why I'm here? No response. I wiped away my tears, took a deep breath, and started the engine again. I wasn't going to stand there waiting. If this was some kind of judgment, some kind of punishment, then let it come quickly. I sped up. The road stretched out ahead, exactly the same, as if trapped in an endless loop. I drove for another 30 minutes, an hour. I lost track of time, and then I saw something different. Brake lights at the front. A truck stopped in the middle of the road. I slowed down, my heart pounding. As I got closer, I could see better. It was a Peterbilt, faded red, old. The doors were open. The engine was still running, emitting that deep, constant rumble. But there was nobody inside. I stopped a few meters away. I grabbed the flashlight and climbed down. "Hey, is anyone there?" My voice echoed in the void and died. I walked to the Peterbilt's cabin. I pointed the flashlight inside. Everything was switched on. Radio playing static. Keys in the ignition. A cup of coffee still steaming in its holder. And then I saw, on the driver's seat, a piece of paper. I picked it up with trembling hands. I opened it. It was written by hand, in trembling handwriting. "Marcelo, don't leave the road, don't look back, and never, never turn off the engine." My blood froze as I turned to look at my truck, and that's when I saw it. There was someone in the cab of my Scania, sitting in the driver's seat, looking directly at me. If this made you uncomfortable, wait for the next chapter. I dropped the flashlight. The silhouette was perfectly still, just sitting there, hands on the steering wheel, head turned in my direction. I couldn't see the face. The darkness inside the cabin was too dense, but I could feel the eyes fixed on me. "No! No! I got it!" My voice came out strangled, desperate. I started running back to the truck, stumbling on the cracked asphalt. When I got closer, the silhouette was no longer there. I opened the door violently, breathless, pointing the flashlight in every corner of the cabin. Empty. But the driver's seat was hot, as if someone had just stood up. No, 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 no. I climbed in, locked the doors, and sped off. I left the abandoned Peterbilt behind, its doors swinging open in the wind. The odometer read 89 miles from the warehouse. I looked at the dashboard a few minutes later. 87 miles. I blinked. I looked again. 84 miles. The odometer was spinning backward. No, that's not possible. I accelerated further. 90 miles per hour, 95. The engine groaned, the gears protested, but the odometer kept going down. 78 miles, 71, 65. What do you want from me? The radio exploded in loud, deafening static. And then, cutting through the noise like a blade, "You know what I want." The voice was no longer coming from the radio. He was coming from the back seat. I froze. My eyes were fixed on the rearview mirror. And there, sitting on the small bench behind the cabin, was a man. He was wearing a ripped denim jacket, dried blood on the left side of his face. His eyes were sunken and empty, staring at me without blinking. I knew him. God, I recognized that face. "No, you're not real. You're not real. You left me stranded on the road, Marcelo." My voice faded. The tears returned, hot and swift. It was dark. I didn't see. I didn't see in time. You saw. I had no choice. You had it, and you chose to move on. I slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded and stopped in the middle of the road. I turned around. Nothing. The bank was empty, but the smell lingered. Gasoline, blood, wet earth. I rested my forehead on the steering wheel, sobbing. I was losing my mind. It had to be this: sleep deprivation, stress, guilt gnawing at my mind until I saw things. But when I raised my head, I saw something ahead that made my heart stop. The same sign is down, kilometer 43. The same abandoned gas station on the right. The same stretch of road I had driven on hours before. I'm back to the same place. I started the engine and tried to turn the truck around. To make a U-turn. To go in any direction but that one. But the steering wheel wouldn't respond. It turned loosely, without resistance, as if it were disconnected. The truck started moving on its own. Slowly, forward. I took my foot off the accelerator. The engine was in neutral, but the Scania kept moving forward as if something was pulling it. No, no, no! I tried to open the door. It was locked. All the latches came down on their own with a mechanical click. The truck accelerated, 40 miles per hour, 50, 60, and then, illuminated by the headlights, I saw a figure standing in the middle of the road, back turned, immobile, torn denim jacket, dried blood in hair. The truck accelerated even more, 70 miles per hour. "Stop. Please, stop!" The figure began to turn around, slowly, the face emerging from the darkness, deep-set eyes, pale skin, mouth slightly open. He raised his hand, and he pointed at me. The speedometer read 85 when the impact occurred, but there was no sound, just silence, an absolute void that swallowed everything. And then, darkness. I woke up with the taste of blood in my mouth. I didn't remember hitting my head, but my lip was cut. I touched my face with trembling fingers. Everything hurt. I opened my eyes slowly. The windshield was intact, no cracks, no signs of impact. I looked around, disoriented. The engine was off. Absolute silence. The darkness outside seemed denser, heavier. Where was I? I unlocked the door with trembling hands and got out. My legs almost gave way. I held onto the side of the truck for balance, and then I saw I was no longer on the road. I was in a dirt yard. Ahead, an abandoned warehouse, corroded metal walls, broken windows, rusty doors hanging on crooked hinges. Above the entrance, a faded sign, Ashford Depot, Nebraska. The delivery address. My voice came out hoarse, almost inaudible. I looked at my cell phone. The screen lit up. Strong signal, 637, p.m. Wednesday. But I had gone out on Tuesday night. I had driven around for hours. It felt like days had passed. I walked to the back of the truck. The cargo was still there, intact, wrapped in the black tarp. Something inside me screamed not to open it, to get in the truck and drive away. But I needed to know. I untied the ropes with numb fingers. The tarp fell heavily to the ground. Inside, there was only one thing: a mirror, large, antique, framed in dark, intricately carved wood. The surface was dusty and covered in accumulated dirt. I wiped the glass with my sweatshirt sleeve. My reflection appeared. Pale. Deep dark circles under my eyes. Unshaven. But something was wrong. I tilted my head. My reflex didn't follow. He kept looking at me, still, while I moved. What? And then, slowly, the reflection smiled. It wasn't my smile. It was crooked, empty, full of something that shouldn't be there. I took a step back. In the reflection, I saw movement behind me, a silhouette, tall, immobile, a few meters away. I turned abruptly. Nothing. The courtyard was empty. But when I looked back in the mirror, the silhouette was still there. Closer now. Torn denim jacket. Dried blood on his face. He slowly raised his hand and reflexively placed it on my shoulder. I felt it. Icy. Heavy. Real. Something was touching my shoulder from behind. "You're going to drive again, Marcelo." The voice was a hoarse whisper right next to my ear. "And next time, you won't get away with it. Run." I didn't look back. I didn't think. I just ran to the cabin, started the engine with my hands trembling violently, and accelerated. He left that place leaving a cloud of dust behind. I drove for hours. I got back on the main road. I passed gas stations, towns, people. Everything's real, everything's normal. But in the rearview mirror, every time I looked, I saw the same thing. The road behind me. That road, gray, empty, infinite. Waiting. It's been 3 weeks since that night. I went back home. I tried to sleep. I tried to forget. But every night, I wake up in a cold sweat. And every night, I hear the truck radio turning on by itself outside. Static. And then, the voice. "We'll see each other again, Marcelo. I know I will. Because yesterday I received another message. Unknown number. New shipping cost, $5,000. Do you accept? And may God forgive me. But I already said yes. Because the truth is, a part of me never left that road. And maybe it will never leave." Something happened to me 3 nights ago, and I still don't know if I'm ready to talk about it. My name is Mark. I've been driving a truck for 18 years. Interstate 80, coast to coast, heavy loads, little sleep. I know every curve, every rest stop, every rundown diner between Omaha and Reno. The road is my home. It always has been. After Sarah left me and the boy stopped answering my calls, the steering wheel became my only companion. It was the early morning hours between Tuesday and Wednesday. I was coming from Des Moines, loaded with tractor parts. My final destination, Salt Lake City. I-80 was empty, as it always is after 3 in the morning. Fog. Not that usual fine drizzle. It was a dense, sticky stuff that enveloped the asphalt like a wet sheet. The radio started to crackle. It's not uncommon. These roads in the middle of Wyoming don't get good signal. But the static was different. It sounded, I don't know, like someone was trying to talk under the static. I turned the damn thing off. I prefer silence. That's when I smelled it. Old diesel oil, burnt rubber, and something sweet, like rotten fruit left in the sun. I opened the window thinking it was from the cargo, but the smell got stronger. It was coming from outside. And then I saw lights, yellow, faint, flashing slowly on the side of the highway. A gas station. I drive that route 3 times a month. I know every damn gas station between Iowa and Utah. That thing didn't exist. The sign read, "Last stop gas and diesel." My tank was half full. I didn't need to stop, but my foot hit the brake on its own. You know when your body decides for you? That's what happened. I entered slowly. The fog swallowed everything behind me. The gas station was old, not the cute retro kind that hipsters love. It was really old, worn out, forgotten. 2 rusty gas pumps with those analog dials. A neon sign flashing open 24/7, but half the letters were faded. The yellow light from the streetlights made everything seem blurry, as if I'd forgotten my glasses, except I don't wear glasses. I parked on the side. I turned off the engine. The silence hit like a punch. No wind, no crickets, no traffic in the distance. Just the fog moving slowly, dragging itself across the ground like something alive. That's when I saw the other trucks, 3, maybe 4, parked in the darkest spots, leaning against the shadows, old models, a navy blue Peterbilt 359 that I swore I'd seen in some museum, a faded red Kenworth W900 with a side stripe that said, "King of the Road," and a grey Freightliner without a license plate. None of them had the lights on, no engine noise, but the cabins were occupied. You could see the silhouettes, seated, motionless. My stomach tightened. It must be people sleeping, I thought. Rest break, normal. But it didn't seem normal. I opened the door of my Volvo. The air outside was colder than it should have been, freezing, damp. My breath came out in thick vapor, as if I had entered a freezer. And then he appeared. The gas station attendant. He stepped out from behind the convenience store without making a sound, without footsteps, as if he had glided. He was wearing blue overalls stained with grease, a worn cap with the gas station logo, and black leather gloves. His face was pale, very pale, expressionless. His eyes were fixed on me, but he didn't blink. Without even blinking, I stood there, my hand still on the doorknob, feeling my heart beat faster. He smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was mechanical, as if someone had pulled the corners of his mouth shut with wire. And then he said, "Welcome back, Mark." My blood froze. I had never seen that guy in my life. "How do you know my name?" My voice came out hoarse, dry. He didn't answer. He just kept smiling. That fixed smile. And then he turned his back and started walking towards the bombs. "Full tank?" he asked, without looking back. I don't need fuel." He stopped. Slowly. He turned his head, just his head, like an owl. His shoulders remained still. "So why did you stop?" Good question. There was no answer. I looked at the other trucks. The silhouettes were still there, motionless. Not a movement, not an adjustment of position. Nothing. "Who are they?" I asked, pointing. The gas station attendant followed my gesture, but didn't look. He already knew. "Drivers, like you." "Are they sleeping?" Silence. Then he said, quietly, "They are waiting." "What are you waiting for?" He didn't answer. He just started walking back to the convenience store. Before going in, he stopped at the door and looked at me. "The coffee's hot inside, bathroom in the back," and it disappeared. I stood there for about 5 minutes, maybe more. The cold bit my face. My breath came out in thick clouds. I thought about going back to the truck, starting the engine, getting out of there. But something was pulling me inside. I went into the store. The place smelled of mold, stale coffee, and something chemical. The shelves were full, but everything was old. Faded packaging, brands I hadn't seen since I was a child. A Pepsi bottle with an 80s logo, a Marlboro pack with a health warning in old-fashioned font. A calendar on the wall marked October 1987. October of 1987. 37 years ago. My heart raced. I looked at the counter. There was a steaming coffee maker. Fresh. Hot. Impossible. And then I heard the voice, "You can't go out either, can you?" I'll turn around quickly. A man, sitting at a small table in the corner. Gray beard, worn denim jacket. He was holding a mug of coffee, but he wasn't drinking. He was just holding it. "Excuse me," I replied. He smiled. Tired. Sad. "I arrived here yesterday. Empty tank. I thought about filling up and continuing on, but my truck won't start anymore. And every time I try to drive away..." He paused. He looked at the door. "The road brings me back." "What are you talking about?" He looked at me, deeply, as if I already knew the answer. "This place, it won't let you leave." I felt my stomach churn. I ran back to my truck. I jumped into the cab. I turned the key. Nothing. I tried again. Nothing. The engine was dead. If this made you uncomfortable, wait for the next chapter. I tried the ignition 15 times. Nothing. Not a click. Not a hiss. As if the battery had been ripped out. But I had filled up in Cheyenne. The dashboard light stayed on until I turned it off. That didn't make sense. I got out of the truck. The cold was now worse. Biting. The fog wasn't moving anymore. It just stayed there. Still. Waiting. I looked at the other trucks. The silhouettes remained inside. Motionless. But now I could see better. One of them had his head leaning against the window. Another had his hands on the steering wheel. Frozen positions. Like statues. "Hey!" I shouted. "Hey! Anyone there?" Nothing. I walked over to the blue Peterbilt. I knocked on the door. No response. I tried to open it. Locked. The silhouette inside was that of a man with a mustache, cowboy hat, open eyes, fixed, looking ahead, without blinking. I stepped back, tripping over my own boot. I ran back to the store. The man with the gray beard was still there, in the same position. The mug was still there at the same time. "How long did you say you'd be here?" I asked, breathless. He didn't look at me. He kept staring at the table. "One day, maybe 2, I don't know anymore." "What is your name?" "Dave." "Dave. We need to get out of here, now." He finally looked up. And for the first time, I saw that he was crying. "I've already tried. 50 times. 100. It doesn't matter. The road doesn't exist anymore." "What do you mean by that?" He pointed to the door. "Go out. Walk in any direction. See what happens." I went to the door. I pushed it. The metal bell jingled. I stepped out into the cold air. I chose a direction. Away from the gas station. I started walking. Fast, then running. The fog swallowed everything. 10 meters, 20, 30. And then, yellow lights. The post, right in front of me. It was as if I had gone around, but I hadn't. I had gone straight. I tried again. To the other side. Same thing. And again. And again. He always came back. Always the same position. I fell to my knees on the wet asphalt. My hands were trembling. My chest burned. This isn't real. It's not real. It's not. It's real. The voice came from above. The gas station attendant. He was standing there. Right in front of me. Expressionless. Emotionless. "You've been here for 3 days already, Mark." "Lie. You crashed your truck on I-80, near Rawlins. You fell asleep at the wheel. You went off the bridge." "No." He crouched down. He was at my height. His eyes were empty, hollow, like holes. "You died at 3:47 a.m. Look at the clock." I looked at the wall of the gas station. A round clock. Hands stopped. 3:47. My breath caught in my throat. "This is where you all end up," he said, standing up. Before nothing. after life, and you don't leave until you accept it. He turned around. He started walking, and for the first time, I realized he had no shadow. I don't know how long I stayed there, on my knees, staring at that clock, 3:47, always at 3:47 a.m. The memories began to return, fragmented, like broken glass cutting through my mind, the burden of Des Moines, the exhaustion, 3 nights without proper sleep, the pills I was taking to stay awake, Sarah calling, me ignoring her, the boy texting, "Dad, we need to talk. I'll leave it for later," always putting it off until later, the dark road, the trembling yellow line, my heavy eyes, just a second, just a blink, just the bridge, it remains, the impact, and then silence. I stood up slowly. My legs were trembling, but I managed to stay on my feet. I went back inside the store. Dave was still there, but now he wasn't crying anymore. He just stared at the table. "How long have you really been here, Dave?" I asked quietly. He took a while to reply. "I don't know. Years, maybe decades." "Why?" He finally looked at me. "Because I didn't want to accept it. I thought that if I waited long enough, someone would come. My wife, my children, someone." Her voice broke. "But nobody comes, Mark. Here, we just wait." I looked out the dirty window. The trucks were still there, motionless. Each one trapped in its final moment, each driver refusing the truth. And then I saw lighthouses, cutting through the fog. Slowly, a brand new truck, a red Freightliner. It pulled into the truck stop. It parked. The engine died. The door opened. A man got off the bus, young, maybe in his early 20s, confused, looking around. He looked at me. I looked at him. And at that moment, I understood. The gas station attendant appeared out of nowhere, gliding, smiling. "Welcome," he said to the boy. The boy took a step back. Where am I?" The gas station attendant looked at me, waiting, and I knew I could stay, like Dave, like the others, stuck here, waiting for something that would never come, or I could accept. I walked over to the boy. He looked at me, terrified. "Relax," I said. My voice came out calmer than I expected. "I know it's confusing, but you'll understand." He opened his mouth to speak, but no sound came out. I looked at Dave. He nodded, sad, but understanding. I looked at the gas station attendant. He nodded. And then I started walking, not for the road, not for the fog, towards the light, a soft light. At the back of the gas station, where I'd never noticed it before, a door, shelter. On the other side, it wasn't nothing. It was something. I can't explain it, but it was peaceful. I went in, and for the first time in 18 years, I finally stopped driving. But if you go back to that road, between Cheyenne and Rawlins, on a foggy morning, and then you see a gas station with flashing yellow lights, a place you'd swear you'd never seen before. Don't stop, please, don't stop, because I'm still here. And now, I hope so too. Something happened to me on I-80, and to this day I can't understand it. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I've been driving trucks for 15 years. 15 years crisscrossing this country from end to end, hauling everything. Electronics, food, industrial machinery. I've seen storms that capsized my trailer. I've been through shootouts in rest areas. I've been stuck in the snow in Wyoming for 2 days. I thought I'd seen it all. I was wrong. It was 3:47 a.m. when I picked up the shipment in Des Moines, Iowa. An industrial warehouse on the outskirts of town, one of those without a sign, just a number painted on the metal door. The shipping agent was a thin, pale-skinned man who barely looked me in the eye when he handed me the manifest. He was sweating profusely, even with the air conditioning on. Decommissioned hospital equipment. The paper read, "Destination, Omaha, Nebraska. Simple, direct. Payment up front," which was already strange, but I wasn't going to complain. I helped load them. 3 large, heavy wooden crates, sealed with yellow industrial tape and a steel padlock on the trunk. The seal had the serial number registered in the manifest. Everything was in order. Everything was legal. When I closed the trunk doors, the dispatcher said something that stuck with me. "Don't stop. For anything." I laughed. I thought it was corporate paranoia, fear of cargo theft. I started the car and drove away. The road was empty, just me, the wet asphalt, and the fog clinging to the windshield. The radio played country music softly, those sad songs about lost men and endless roads. It fit perfectly. I had been on the track for 40 minutes when I heard it. Talk, low, almost imperceptible, coming from behind. I turned off the radio. Silence. Only the rumble of the diesel engine and the sound of the tires on the wet road. Tock, tock. 2 knocks. Rhythmic, like someone knocking their knuckles on a door. I relaxed my shoulders. It must be some loose box, I thought. Suspension, rattling. I turned the radio back on and turned up the volume. But deep down in my mind, something was whispering that I was lying to myself. Because those beats weren't random. They had rhythm. And rhythm means intention. I drove faster. Half an hour passed. Maybe 40 minutes. I lost track of time. The banging continued. Tock, tock, tock. They were no longer subtle. Now I could hear them clearly, even with the radio on, even with the noise of the engine. They came from the trunk, always from the same place, as if something were leaning right against the middle of the metal wall that separated us. I tried to convince myself. It's the wind pressing against the tarp. But the trunk was closed, made of reinforced aluminum. Then it's the load adjusting itself with the movement. But the boxes were tied down. I checked it myself, and there was something else. The beats stopped when I thought about them. Not immediately, but a few seconds later, as if something were listening to my thoughts and decided to be quiet. I tested this 3 times. I thought, stop. And they stopped. For a few minutes. Then they started again. My heart raced. Cold sweat trickled down the back of my neck. I picked up the CB radio and pressed the button. "This is Grey Wolf. Anyone listening? Over. Static. Anyone on I-80 westbound? Over." More static. Then, a long hissing sound, as if someone had pressed a button on the other end but said nothing. Just breathing. Heavy. Wet. I turned the radio off immediately. I saw a sign, "Rest area, 2 miles." I decided to stop. I know, the dispatcher told me not to stop, but I needed to see. I needed to be sure I was just going crazy on my own, and not that there was really something back there. I parked in the rest area. It was empty, completely empty. Not a single car, just 3 yellowish light poles, buzzing like insects, illuminating the cracked asphalt parking lot. I turned off the engine. Absolute silence. I grabbed the flashlight and climbed down from the cab. The air was cold and damp. My breath came out in white clouds. I walked to the back of the truck, my footsteps echoing like drums. I arrived at the trunk. The seal was intact. Intact. Serial number matches the manifest. No signs of forced entry. No scratches. Nothing. Relief. A silly, brief relief that lasted only 5 seconds. Because then I heard, from inside the trunk, very close to the door, one breath, slow, deep, like someone who has just woken up. I took 2 steps back. The flashlight trembled in my hand, and then the beating started again. But now they were different, stronger, faster, as if something knew I was there, outside, looking. I ran back to the cabin, started the engine, and sped away. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I couldn't, but I swear I heard something scratching the metal from the inside out. I got back on the road at 80 miles per hour. My hands were sweaty on the steering wheel. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear the blood pulsing in my ears. I tried to take a deep breath. I tried to think rationally. You're tired. You've been driving for hours. You've drunk too much coffee. It's a hallucination. It has to be. But hallucinations don't leave scratches on metal. The pounding stopped for a while. Maybe 10 minutes. I almost relaxed. Almost. Then they came back. Talk, talk, talk. But now there was a pattern. 3 beats. Pause. 2 beats. Pause. 3 beats again. It wasn't random. It was communication. I thought to myself, just to test it, just to prove I was delusional. Hit 4 times. Silence. My stomach churned. See? You're crazy, man. Crazy with exhaustion. And then, talk, 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 talk. 4 knocks. Clear. Precise. My foot instinctively pressed the brake. The truck screeched, slowing down, but I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. No, 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 I repeated aloud, trying to anchor myself to reality. I thought again, this time trembling. Knock twice. Talk, talk. 2 knocks. Immediate. As if something were waiting, listening. Inside my head. I screamed. I'm not proud of it, but I screamed like a wounded animal. I pounded the steering wheel. Hot tears streamed down my face. I picked up my cell phone. No signal. Of course, there was no signal. We were in the middle of nowhere, between ghost towns and dead cornfields. I turned the CB radio back on, static. Then that breathing sound again, but this time, there was something more. A voice, hoarse, distant, as if it came from very far away. No, open. I turned off the radio immediately. My hands were shaking so much I almost crashed the truck into the side of the road. I looked in the side mirror. The road behind me was empty, just darkness and fog. And somewhere back there, inside that metal trunk, something was alive. Something that was listening to me. Something that provided an answer. I drove. I just drove. Because stopping meant opening that door. And opening that door, I don't know what would happen. But part of me, the animal, instinctive part that keeps us alive when reason fails, part of me already knew. Whatever was in there shouldn't leave. If this made you uncomfortable, wait for the next chapter. I don't know how much time has passed. The sky was still black. No sign of dawn. As if the night had decided to stay forever. I passed a sign. Omaha, 47 miles, 47 miles, less than an hour. I just needed to hold on a little longer, deliver the cargo, leave, forget about it. But the banging didn't stop. Now they had changed again. They were no longer rhythmic. They were frantic, desperate, as if something was trying to get out. Scratch, dig, hit with full force, bam, bam, bam. The entire truck was shaking from the impact. Holy shit, I yelled, gripping the steering wheel tightly. And then I heard it. Breathing. Not from the radio, not from anywhere. Close. Right behind my head. On the other side of the thin wall that separates the cabin from the trunk. Heavy breathing. Wet. Like someone with lungs full of fluid. I felt the breath. Cold. Rotten. Seeping through the invisible cracks in the metal. I didn't look back. I couldn't. If I looked, if I turned my head and saw something watching me through that wall. I grabbed the manifesto with one hand, still driving. I read it again, desperate for answers. Hospital equipment deactivated. Source, Mercy, General Hospital, deactivated psychiatric ward. Contents, portable containment unit. Model CRX-9. Containment, Not equipment, containment. My blood ran cold. I remembered the dispatcher. The cold sweat, his eyes avoiding mine. The way he practically ran after closing the trunk. Don't stop, for anything. He knew. He always knew. The scratching grew louder. Methodical now. Like fingernails, or something worse, scraping the aluminum from the inside out. Leaving grooves. Marks. And then, her breathing stopped. Silence. A silence worse than any sound. I looked in the rearview mirror, that small mirror that shows the wall between the cabin and the trunk. There was a shadow. No, not a shadow. One way. Something was pressed against the metal. I could see the outline, broad shoulders, head tilted, as if listening, waiting. My heart was beating in the same rhythm as the other beats. No. Wait. The beats were in sync with my heart. Boom, boom, knock, knock. Boom, boom, knock, knock. Perfectly synchronized, as if something were sensing, measuring, knowing. And then, very quietly, almost imperceptibly, I heard a voice. Coming from inside the trunk, from my own head, I don't know, whispering, I see you. I floored the accelerator. Omaha. I need to get to Omaha, deliver this shit, and never drive at night again. Never again. I arrived in Omaha as the sky was beginning to lighten, a dirty, sickly gray. The delivery address was a warehouse in the industrial suburbs. Iron gate, broken cameras, dead grass growing in the cracks of the concrete. Nobody in sight. I parked. I turned off the engine. Absolute silence. The knocking had stopped about 20 minutes ago. Ever since I crossed the city limits. As if something knew the journey was over. I climbed down from the cabin. My legs barely supported me. I hadn't slept. I hadn't eaten. Just cold sweat and stale coffee in my stomach. A man emerged from the warehouse, gray uniform, clipboard in hand, expressionless face. Manifesto, he said, without complying. I handed over the paper with trembling hands. He checked. He looked at me, then at the truck. Any problems with the trip? I opened my mouth. I closed it. What was I going to say? That I heard knocking. That something inside the trunk answered my thoughts. No, I lied. It's okay. He nodded. You can open it. I walked to the back. The man followed me, indifferent, as if he did this every day. I picked up the key to the seal. My hands were sweating so much I almost dropped it. I took a deep breath. I turned the key. Click, the seal broke, intact, as it always was. I pulled the locks. I opened the doors. The smell hit me first. Formaldehyde, mold, something organic, rotten. Inside, the 3 wooden crates, intact, tied together, exactly as I had left them. But there were marks. Inside the trunk doors, deep scratches, dozens of them. As if something had tried to get out, nails or claws, scraping the metal until they left shiny, exposed grooves. And on the floor, between the boxes, footprints, barefoot footprints. Wet, as if someone had walked inside during the trip. The man entered the trunk without saying anything. He checked the boxes. He lightly tapped one of them with his knuckles. Talk, talk. My heart stopped. He looked at me. Everything's fine. You can go. What's in those boxes? I asked, my voice faltering. He smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Equipment deactivated. What type of equipment? He was already leaving. He stopped. He turned around. The kind that shouldn't be turned on again. Pause. But sometimes, it turns on by itself. I signed the papers. I got into the truck. I left without looking back. That was 3 weeks ago. I'm home now. I haven't driven since then. I told the company I was sick. I can't sleep. Every night, at 3:47 a.m., I wake up sweating. and I hear tuck, tuck, tuck. It doesn't come from a trunk. There are no more trunks. It comes from the wall of my room, from the closet, from inside my head. I don't know, but I know something came with me, something that learned my heartbeat, something you're still listening to, and every night, very quietly, almost imperceptible, I hear the same voice. I see you. I lock the doors, I lock the windows, but there's no lock for what enters through the mind. I checked the manifest again yesterday. I called the depot in Des Moines. The number does not exist. The address does not exist. The customs broker, it never existed. So what was it that I carried that night? And why do I still hear the beats? If you listen to the end, you're already one of us. Subscribe so you don't miss the next whisper.